Welcome to today's episode on the Sing to Thrive podcast. We are so excited to introduce Selina Tannenberg and her pet dragon, Sk'on. Selina is an Australian voice physiotherapist and a singer. She believes singers are vocal athletes and is on a mission to teach singers to use sports science to optimize the non-vocal technique aspects of their voice in order to augment vocal technique, enhance vocal efficiency, and unlock total vocal freedom. Wow. We're so excited to have you here today, Selina. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am so thrilled to be on your podcast today. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So just to start off, can you tell us a bit about your story and how you merged physiotherapy with singing and how you got into that?
It's got a bit of a story behind it. It actually started many more years ago when I did pole dancing. So it was like a work outing thing. We went all as a group to go pole dancing, not far from here. And I loved it. Like, it's so fun and it makes you so strong, and the confidence you get from it. And I have seen so many women learn to love their bodies, come out of their shell and just like glow. So that was a really brilliant time. And when I first went, I didn't want to think about work. It's my playtime, right? So I left my physio hat at the door. But then once you start making friends, you can't really hide it from people that you're a physio. So it got out. So then naturally people would come and ask me about how to stretch this, I've got pain, what to do, things like that. That's also when I got interested in flexibility training, because with pole dancing, the more flexible you are, the more fun tricks you can do. So that's a whole other story for next time. And yeah, so I started writing a blog called the Pole Physio blog, and I talk about pole dancing injury prevention, things like that. But then I opened my own clinic, and that's just wasn't a priority. And eventually, from being a businesswoman, as I'm sure you two ladies would relate, like, you need to have something for yourself. So I started singing lessons, and that was my me time thing. And then, as these things goes, once you start doing something, your brain just picks out what's related in the environment. And then I saw in my Physio magazine that there's something called vocal unloading, that you learn to treat the voice. I was like, what? I'm there, right? The first chance I got, I went to Melbourne and trained with Annie. And on the way back that trip, that first time, I just thought, I've got to do something about this. You know, I love singing, I love physio. I did it before with pole physio. Therefore, now the natural thing for me was voice physio. And that's how it all started.
And that's awesome. By the pole dancing. I love it.
Yeah.
So good. Amazing. So with this, what did you discover when you started singing? Like, was it all that because you speak about core a lot, and I love that, because I speak about the core a lot. Every single class, every single session I teach, core, ways to engage the core, make sure you're engaging the core, supporting your voice. So is that kind of what made you realize when you started singing that if you weren't engaging your core, how that affected your voice? Like, what was the main inspiration for really wanting to merge the two modalities?
In the beginning, it was more because it was the manual therapy aspects of it. People come to see me. You literally work on their larynx, you work on the neck, you work on the jaw. I've always been treating the jaw, is one of my interest areas. And so it's all related. And seeing someone's hearing their voice change in front of you, even though I'm not a vocal coach, I'm not a speech pathologist, but even my sort of more amateur ears can hear someone's voice just change, and the happiness on their face, the surprise, like, wow, all of a sudden it's so free. And a lot of times people don't realize they have tension until that is removed. And so that was a very powerful thing. And because even as physios, if you ask 10 physios that you see, you probably have 10 of them telling you, I have not heard of voice physio vocal unloading. It's a very niche thing even within physiotherapy. So, you know, you got the good stuff, you got to share it, right? So, you know, And also, I think a lot of people, singers are people. Singers have the same problems that you see in the clinic. People have neck pain, back pain, and from the physiotherapy perspective, I know what pain can limit people with their movement, with their sports, and with singing as well. So that's initially, it was more as a clinician, this is how I can help this particular group of people. And it taught me to get better at my own singing, to be able to understand it more in my body. It's the same thing as whole physio days. One of the things that I heard a lot was, I'm so glad I found you because I don't have to draw stick figures. My physio, they used to tell me to stop because it hurts. Like if you're going to be using a metal pole as your apparatus, there is going to be pain. You know, you wrap yourself around it, you will get bruises. As a part of it is the nature of the activity. So when you have a first person understanding of anything, you get better insights of what it takes to do this thing well and what problems people are likely to have and how can you best help them.
Absolutely. And that's exactly how I evolved.
Yay!
Because with I was singing, and well, actually when I first started singing, I was having a lot of voice problems and I didn't have great technique. And I had a lot of fear going on. So that was already contracting the body. And I had a lot of childhood anger sitting in the jaw and that. So there was like stuff coming from all angles. But when I started teaching, because through my whole singing career, I ended up getting nodules and I had laser surgery. I had to recover from that. But then I learned it was my speaking voice that caused me more problems than my singing voice, because I would speak like this. Can you hear my voice is landing in my throat now? And it's a different, it's huskier, it's deeper. But you have to place your voice right up into the chamber of the head. And for singing or speaking, for you to be heard, if it goes up into this resonating chamber, and you're really anchoring through the core, you can get a louder sound. But when I started teaching, I began noticing what I was doing in my body, and when things really worked, that was good. Oh, that felt free. That's good. Oh, I was pressing through the balls of my feet. I was unlocking my knees. I was breathing down into my belly while it was soft. I wasn't tense while I was breathing in. You know, I was anchoring and projecting the voice up through the body while I did this, and relaxing my upper body because it's the pathway. And you know, there was there was 8 things that I sort of came up with that were simple, but if I applied them, they just made such a difference to my tone and my power. Like I can power my voice because I teach a lot and I've got a lot of people in one room. And one thing I did want you to talk about today was you've got a great little set of videos on your website, and you're talking about overuse and the capacity.
Vocal load management as well.
Vocal load, yes.
Vocal capacity, yeah, let's dive in. I need to hear this.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like is really important, especially for teachers. I don't think it matters whether you're a singer or not. Like if you're using your voice a lot to teach, you need to know how to look after it, because so many people I know lose their voice, but they're not placing their voice correctly.
And you know what? This is actually what drew me in and why I started following you on Instagram, because as not only a singing teacher, but now someone who's doing sometimes multiple gigs a weekend, I might not have a day off from singing. And yeah, it's even though my technique now is impeccable most of the time, it's still like, oh God, am I pushing too far? And knowing that limit. And it really helped me gain some perspective. I'm like, okay, no, I need to have some downtime, essentially, you know, and really balance it out. So can you dive into what you mean when you say that, and just some tips?
Yes, absolutely. Very excited about this. I'm actually putting together a vocal load management webinar. I'm a little bit behind because I had dental surgery 3 days ago, and I naively thought, ambitiously thought I could come home, have a rest and keep working. Did not happen because of capacity, because every we have capacity for everything. So like right now, today, every one of us has the capacity to use our voice so much or do a physical activity so much. Like I can maybe go out and run for 5Ks, but I won't have the legs for 6. I may be able to pick up 30 kilos today, but I won't be able to pick up 32 kilos. And for singing, the example, my favorite one is you may have the capacity to sing 8 shows a day, which is typical musical theater schedule, but you don't have the capacity to take on an extra gig on your one and only day off, which a lot of them do. So capacity is just your ability to do something, and there is a limit, and it is not related to your technique, which I was really glad Maddie brought up how, you know, your technique is impeccable. And I've seen your videos on the Instagram story. They're amazing. And technique is important. Let's be very super clear about that. Technique is very, very important. Singers should always be working. If you don't already work on technique, you want to learn good technique. When you have learned good technique, you want to keep practicing good technique. And even when you have become like the lead or the, doesn't matter, Beyonce, I'm sure she still practices, you know, like she elite performers have coaches.
You have to keep singing fit.
Yeah. So you got to be performance fit. So even the elite people have vocal coaches and they tour with them. And so technique is important. Technique doesn't protect you from overuse, because if you spend all your capacity, it's gone. If you don't replenish it, if you don't have enough rest to replenish your capacity, you're just going to keep depleting over time, and eventually you run into issues. The simplest way to think of capacity is to think of it as money. You can have a lot of technique, like you have a lot of money, you can still spend it all if you care to. Like, it's still spend it all, you will still end up in debt. For singers, the way you pay for your debt is nodules, polyps, cysts, vocal injuries, and we don't want that. I mean, they are quite, for the people who I've worked with who have vocal injuries, is very traumatic. You know, it is your voice. It's a very personal thing. It's like your fingerprint. Is unique to you. It's a part of who you are. How we communicate, how we express ourselves, how we protect ourselves is like a part of your soul. It's like the sound of your soul, maybe. Of it. Yeah, it's an expression of it. So when you can't use it, is very debilitating. It's very traumatizing. And I remember this lady I worked with. She had muscle tone dysphonia. She didn't have any pathology on her vocal folds. She is a teacher, and teachers, like you mentioned before, Julia, they are the group of people who are most likely to get voice injuries because they talk so much. And I remember reading some data about a lot of singing school teachers they look forward to the weekend because they cannot talk. They look forward to the end of the term, or they will routinely lose their voice at the end of the term or the end of the school year. That is not normal. That is absolutely not normal. And I think part of it is because, well, the vocal load is high, noisy classroom, you're yelling over a lot of noise, kids, that makes it more strenuous on your voice. And they don't consider themselves a professional voice user. I don't think it is in the curriculum for educating school teachers that they need to learn how to use their voice, how to project, how to have technique, speaking technique. There is such a thing.
That would
actually
be
all
really
this coming
valuable.
together. Yeah, so all that coming together means a lot of teachers end up with injuries. And the sad thing, and things that makes me mad, is that they think that's just part and parcel of the job. Like, it's not. Like, they just settle, this is it, we're teachers, we all will mess up our voices. No, it's not. Like, there are people out there that if you have a voice concern, first person to see is a speech pathologist. Get it checked out. If you need to see an ENT, they will set you up. So nobody should be routinely losing their voices. And learning to speak with good technique is important.
Oh,
and the,
100%.
yeah. And so
100%.
capacity, you use it up. If you don't give it the other thing I want to emphasize is your body is robust, it's adaptable, it's resilient. So it's not like if I push it too hard that one time, you're going to just break. I mean, there are situations, there are so many maybes in the body. There's just no absolute. I know it's frustrating for people because most of the answers to the questions about the body is it depends, because it does depend. So people can have one catastrophic episode that results in an acute injury. That a common example is people going to the football, shouting, they hemorrhage. They end up with vocal fold hemorrhage. So it's a noisy environment, they're emotional, they might be drinking alcohol, all that coming together. So that can happen. But for like if Maddie, if you have a show that you put a little bit more energy into it and you give it a little bit more, it's unlikely that you are just going to like ruin something. But if you keep doing that all the time, that is the problem. If you don't have then enough recovery, because your body, you use it, that's usually when we lift weights and stuff, you have micro tearing. When you use your voice a lot, there will be some swelling. Those are what happens. And if you give your body time to rest and repair, it will do that. If you don't let it, if you challenge it to do more before it's ready, your body will just try to give it to you. It will soldier on.
And that's key, what you just said, I think. It's like when it's ready, and it's also building up your capacity.
It builds up.
So it's like, obviously, if I'd started out doing as much singing as I do now, there's no way I would have had the capacity to do that. But by building it up slowly over time, you get stronger, you get fitter, or, your body builds more resilience in that space. But so, your capacity can change. But I think the key thing, especially with teachers, is lack of awareness.
Absolutely.
If you're not paying attention to your voice and how it feels, then how are you going to know if you're pushing yourself too far? Yeah, it's interesting.
And for me, the voice is for me my first port of call when my immune system's compromised. I just can tell, oh, my voice isn't quite right, what's going on. And if I do a stretch, because we do this thing where you bite the large apple and and then I can feel, I can feel pinpoint where something, that's how close I am with my voice, because I'm so familiar with how it feels when it feels good and stretched and open. And I just wanted to say, when you were talking before about trauma and voice damage, like you reminded me of mine, because when I had nodules in my 20s, I thought that was it. And I had this deep desire to sing, and I could always sing from very little, but I walked away from it because there was just too much self-consciousness, too much judgment, too much perfectionist script. I wasn't good enough, blah, blah, blah. And then when when I finally got back into it and I replaced someone else who had vocal nodules, voice nodules, so I came into this situation, and because I didn't have great technique, beautiful voice, but not great technique, I caused damage. And then when I had that laser surgery, I thought, oh, well, this is it. I literally was grieving that I'm never going to be able to sing again, and it took about a year. I just forgot about it, didn't sing for over a year at least, and then it repaired. And that's happened twice now where I've really overused my voice and just left it and just don't sing too much, don't talk too much, just rest. And it does repair, it heals itself. So I just wanted to say that for anyone that's listening. And the other thing I'd like to say is I think the three of us should get together and let's put something together for teachers, because
I'm down.
Man, those, oh, I know what it's like. When I was teaching, I had like 20 students a week. That was intense. And now I hardly have any, and because I'm
And that's
teaching
one-on-one,
online,
let
but
alone trying to speak over a class of children. When I did kids classes, that's the main reason I stopped doing them. One,
Wow.
I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I was overwhelmed. But yelling over the kids, and then I had an adult choir like an hour after the kids class. By the end of that day, I was absolutely exhausted. I was just like, oh my God. And I'd say to the kids, I'd literally be like, please don't make me yell. Like, you know how important it is for me to be able to sing. Like, don't make me yell.
I remember when I was in primary school, a long time ago, I had one teacher, she would come in with her own microphone. I have never forgotten it because no one else did it. It's a little carry across your body. The machine is on her hips and she would speak with her microphone. And I think us kids are cruel, right? Like we look at her, we think she's funny and whatnot. But now I actually really respect the fact that she was well ahead of the time, that she was protecting her voice.
Totally.
Yeah, so that is not really a done thing, I don't think, at school. Is there's some improvement in that space, and amplification. That's one of the things that we can do to help reduce the strain on the voice.
Totally. And I think, there's many things that could help teachers for sure.
Yes.
So there's two avenues I want to go down. Firstly, I'd love for you to explain why you think I'm an athlete.
Oh no, You have to be singing. Yeah, you have to be singing fit, don't you? Absolutely.
I just felt so validated when I saw your post saying that, singers are like athletes. And I was like, do you know what? I am. I'm on stage for 3 hours dancing and singing, belting at the highest of my range. Tina Turner, Aretha Franklin, you name it, I'm singing it. And it's hard work.
It is hard work.
Like, if I have a momentary lapse of judgment and my core's not on, which doesn't happen because my muscle memory is so ingrained in me, but like my core is solid for the entire gig, and it's hard work. So
it is hard work. I'm just checking. I've got some notes here to tell you. Like, I want to make sure I give you the juiciest bit. So you are an athlete because, like, your body is your voice and your voice is your body. Your instrument, our instruments as singers, is literally inside our body. If you think an athlete can go and play sports and not look after their body, not be strong, not be fit, not eat well, not sleep well, do you think, like everyone listening, do you think Roger Federer, if he just sit around all day and pick up a racket when he has to, do you think he would have won as many Grand Slams? Rafa just retired. Do you think he could have done all the amazing things? And they can't. And so why would we as singers think that we can get away with not looking after our body when our body is literally our instrument? We don't hold a racket, we hold a microphone, but like the sound comes from us. Your body is doing the breathing, your core is doing the supporting, and you are controlling how that air comes out, and you use your technique to shape. Use your mouth, use your tongue, use your technique to shape the sound how you want. You are literally using your body to perform your task. How are you not an athlete?
I used to give up. Not give up. I would have a little break at Christmas time. And then when I'd come back to teaching again, it'd be like, oh God, that was hard work. And I realized, it's a real fitness. Yeah, it's a fitness, isn't it?
So I would encourage singers to nurture you want to strengthen your body all the time so that you are not too far away ever from your show fitness that you need to be. When you take time off, you will lose condition. I'm really glad you brought up, Julia, because that Christmas, New Year period, the 2 weeks off classically we have here in Australia, is the most dangerous overload time because people take holidays. They sit on the sofa, for 2 weeks, or they go somewhere, sit on the beach maybe. We
Yeah,
indulge, we
that's
have our Christmas meal, and then we just chill out. We just hang out and enjoy life. We don't do, a lot of the times we give ourselves a break from our routine, our fitness and whatnot. And then come New Year resolution. I'm excited. New Year, new me. I jump back into it, deep end, 10 out of 10 effort. And they go so hard after taking 2 weeks off where they did nothing. That is a really easy way of hurting yourself. And that is why I dislike boot camp. We're going to start seeing it because it is the end of November. It is the kind of time you will probably start seeing people promoting New Year resolution, come join this thing. And boot camp is evil in my view because they typically target people who are unfit, out of condition, don't have a movement habit. And then they typically also throw them into the deep end, make them do a lot of high intensity stuff every day because they want to build your habit, which is valid, but it's a really irresponsible way of going about it. That you're doing too much too soon after doing too little for too long is a very unfriendly way of treating your body, and is a very easy way of getting yourself into the overuse injury category. And that is very commonly seen 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the new year. People who join this boot camp, they start to have a sore knee, their back is sore. They start to fail at I'm putting it in air quotes for those listening. They start to fail their New Year resolution. They think they have failed. They think that they are the reason why they have failed. They think they're not worthy. They doubt themselves. They start to not love themselves anymore. But it's the strategy that you had the motivation. You are worthy. Everybody is worthy, but you went about it in a really inefficient, unfriendly way. The strategy failed you. You did not fail. So the 2 weeks of Christmas time is it can be very problematic. And the thing to do is to make sure you rest, yes. But if you keep maintaining some activity, if you do about 80% of what you normally do, it should take you only about 2 weeks to build it back up, roughly.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why I love Pilates, though. Low impact.
Yeah.
High results, low impact. Love it.
Pilates is great.
And so what about, I saw on your website, breath management essentials, and I loved that. So do you want to go through those 5? Like there's a strong body, good cardiovascular fitness, good respiratory endurance, which is a big one, good spine and rib cage mobility. I got a story about that. And efficient, well-coordinated breathing. So let's talk about that.
Really glad you read it out because I don't remember what I put on my website.
Know, right?
So breath management. So it's how efficiently you can inhale and how well you can manage your exhale. So the inhale, I think people talk about breath support, breath management. It starts with the inhale. You need to make sure you set yourself up for success. If you can't even get the right volume that you want to get in easily, efficiently, what chance do you have to expel that volume of air? You got to start good. So the mobility of your spine and your rib cage is important because being able to get air inside your lungs is a manner of your rib cage lifting, expanding. It is a change in dimension that creates a change in pressure that pulls the air in. So if you have stiff, rigid ribs and your rib cage, is like a bit reluctant to open and lift, it's going to make it move less, and it will require more effort to move the same amount as if they were not stiff. So mobility is important for efficiency. And you also want to make sure your intercostal muscles are strong, that they are the ones that lift and lower your rib cage. And you also need to make sure you train them specifically to inhale the way you want. So let's get a bit nerdy here. In your muscles, you have different muscle fibers. Broadly, fast twitch fibers, slow twitch fibers. Fast twitch are the ones that are good at generating a lot of force in a very short period of time. The slow twitch are the ones that are your endurance, long distance kind of muscle fiber. They can generate good force too, but they are more fatigue resistant. The fast twitch muscle fibers, they go hard, but they fatigue fast. So when you are singing, if you only have like a second to take a big breath, you need your fast twitch. So you need to be able to go very quickly, expand your rib cage to get the air in. And you need to train that, because you can do everyday deep, long, slow meditation type inhale. It will not help you take that fast breath. You need to train specifically for the task. And so a good way of making sure your intercostals can do all that is to do cardio. You've got to have fitness. I see a lot of posts on the internet, people asking about what is the, it seems like people are looking for the one ultimate breathwork strategy that can help them not run out of breath. Yes, there is one, is for getting fit. You need to have fitness. That is where your air is. Like, you need to have cardiovascular fitness to be able to manage that kind of breathing demand. And so that's that. What else did I put on my list? You got to have
a strong body and good cardiovascular fitness. And because I just remember when I was doing gigs professionally for years, it's such a lifestyle. I'd have to watch what I ate. I had to really look after myself, and getting fit, because I got fitter as I went along, everything got easier. So touch on that for us, because I know how important this is, and so does Maddie.
I've gotten a lot more fit this year, just from.
You have to be. I've seen your videos. Like, you work hard, though. You sing hard songs, and you work hard, and they are not short gigs.
No, and like that's why that's, as I brought up Pilates before, it's been a game changer this year. Because my singing's always been like, I've been fit for a long time with my singing, but I slacked off with physical exercise for a long time. And because I sing every day teaching, it helps maintain that fitness. But then when I started doing gigs, I'd have a stitch mid song, and I'm like, oh my Lord, I'm not fit enough to be up here. And so I started doing Pilates with skipping or any other kind of cardio nearly every day, and then combining that with strength training. Within a month, I felt by the end of the gig, it was so easy. So easy in comparison to just a few weeks before.
All the things.
Where I'm like, oh God, where I was like dead by the end. Whereas
strength training is so important. Strength
makes such a big difference.
It's not just for singing. The thing is, there is a mountain of evidence on the physical benefits, the lots of different benefits of physical exercises. It helps you with your cardiovascular. It helps you live longer, live better is the gist of it. It helps you with your stress management. It helps you with digestion. It helps you with your bones and keeping your bones and joints strong. And it helps you with your what else? I've got a list. I thought I was able to rattle that off, but it's good for everything. It helps you sleep better, helps you manage your stress, and it helps you keep living at the with the finesse, with the kind of zest that you want in life, that you're not just withering away. One thing I have an issue, a bone I have to pick with society, is that people think just for one, because like a lot of people, they are a bit shocked when they find out how old I am, and they would then inadvertently follow up by, wow, like I'm 48 right now. And they would be like, wow, you look good for insert age. And I thought, I know you mean it as a compliment, right? Like, they mean well. But if I look good for X age, what did you think X age should look then?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to be more gray, more hunched, more like, withered and weak and frail? So society's mindset about what aging looks like is stuck in the 1800s. Like if a 48-year-old back in that time is probably the oldest in a family. If you were very lucky, you lived to that. Most people don't live past 40 back in that time. But like if this is 20, almost 25, we have the technology, the science, the medicine. People are living till the 80s. So why would you write someone off because they're in their 40s? I've got quite a lot more years to go.
But it's also like, what's your quality of life? Yeah, so many people can live so much longer now.
Yeah.
But so many of them age so early and then they just drift at the end.
It is a physiological normal that your body starts to decline about 30, 35. Yes. Like we lose muscle mass as we get older. Yes. But if you keep strengthening, that's why strength training is so important, especially for women. I'm a woman of a certain age now, perimenopause, this kind of the era that you want to make sure you develop the habit. It's far easier to keep what you have than try to catch up. And you know how on the internet you always see videos of the super nanny, the super grandma in the gym lifting weights, and people are like, wow, amazing, I'm 25, I can't do that, I want to be like you when I'm older. And I want to challenge people to start shifting their mindset that what they do is actually normal. They are only showing us what human potential is. They are not the exception. They are actually the norm. And if you can't do that, and you're 50 years younger than they are, then there's something you really need to think about changing in your lifestyle to give yourself that same future that you admire so much.
Yeah.
And a huge part of that, of course, too, is our belief systems, because that literally rules the body. You know, like my father's 93, and I really only noticed him starting to really age and look like an old man the last couple of years. Hey, Maddie. Like he's just started to, but Dad definitely had the youth and vitality gene switched on. And I see that with my family. Like I'm 60. I do not. Am I that? I think I'm older than that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
About to be 61.
Soon. It's all the same.
Soon, yeah. But and I definitely have noticed this past year, I'm not doing as much physical fitness and strength work, and I need to. And that's what it comes down to. It's like within me, there's such a strong knowing of, okay, don't leave this too long, because I'm still good, because your body has muscle memory. And I was very fit in my teens and in my 20s and 30s. But if you let that go for too long, then it takes so much longer to get it back.
But it's also the same with anything like in the brain. If you don't lose it, you use you.
Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it.
If you don't use it, you lose it. Yeah. And
I like to say, if you don't use it, you don't get to keep it. Because especially for movement, because if you look at a little kid, you know, there's always photos on the internet, little kids falling asleep with their bum up over their heads and feet over their shoulders, or in all sorts of weird and awkward shape. And people are like, how is that comfortable? And kids can do, you know, little babies, they can suck their toes and they can do really flexible things. And that is because that baby hasn't unlearned movement. Children go and play encourages all your motor skills. It keeps you strong. You get variety of movement is a really important thing. And they have all that until they get put in a classroom, and that you're not allowed to even, you know, stretch your face. You're not even allowed to go pee when you have to go pee. You know, that's like school is important. Education, I have the privilege of having a very nice education. I understand, I appreciate education. I am all for it. But then there's a lot of rigidity in the education system that you must just sit here.
Yeah, I think that's got to change. And I really think we're birthing a new paradigm right now. There's so many parents homeschooling, and it's so essential. And I put Madeline and Joel through the Steiner system, and that was a lot more flexible. And, you know, and they got to school and they could run around in bare feet, and they had to wear their little felt slippers in the classroom, and beautiful timber, and they were just like little hobbit homes, these classrooms.
What is that system? I've not heard of it before.
Rudolf Steiner?
Rudolf Steiner School. Yeah, he's an amazing
He was a
An
philosopher.
amazing
And
human being.
yeah.
I remember seeing something on the news maybe last year. There is I can't remember whether it was a school or kindy, that there's no classroom, that they're outside.
Oh,
It's somewhere
cool.
in Australia, I think it was.
There's a
And
lot around this area where I am in Byron Bay.
And here.
yeah, they're more progressive with that kind of with
Yeah.
those things. Yeah, so when then you think about it, a kid get put in a classroom, then they end up in an office and they sit for the commute, they sit in the little cubicle, they go home and in the commute still sitting, and then they go home, sit in front of Netflix these days. And what variety do you have? Like, unless you physically go somewhere and make sure that you do activity, nurture your movement, make sure you stay limber and strong, that's why you lose it. You had it. Most people, especially in Australia, if you go through school, you have to do PE and all that stuff. We love sports in this country, so you likely have done sports. And if you stop, you start lose all the good stuff that you've
But it's
actually
also
gained
like
when you were
what
little.
you were saying before. It's like building capacity. Also, you do what? Maybe 1 or 2 PE lessons a week. And you might do theory for one of those. And then 1 practical PE lesson, or like, I mean, generally I know in this area, because I teach a lot of kids, there's like, at the moment they're all doing swimming and it's every day, which is awesome. But like usually throughout the year is like 2 hours on a Wednesday afternoon or whatever day of the week that school does it. And it's like, what, maybe volleyball, maybe it changes because you're learning all the different sports, and it's not always like that hard. I remember sitting around in PE all the time. I'd just sit on the sideline sometimes, and I was fit. I did after school activities. I did circus 2 days a week, and I did soccer and gymnastics, and then later on to cheerleading and dancing after school. But yeah, I don't remember it being hard. And if that's your only form of physical activity as a kid and as a teenager, it's just not enough.
No,
So
it's not. Yeah.
let's talk about, so for anybody that is an up and coming, wants to be a professional musician, because it's a big deal. Like it's a whole lifestyle change when you don't go out with your friends, you go and do a gig. I did it for, I don't know, 12 years or something crazy for a while. And I went actually, and when I had the kids, then I did it for a little bit longer, and then I gave it up, and that's when I started the singing and healing school. But for anyone that is wanting to get better at their singing, I'd like to hear what your advice for that. And before we dive into that, I just wanted to say, like, clothing when we're performing, whether it's a teacher, singer, whatever, is so important, because I remember years ago I had this gorgeous Lisa Ho LBD, we used to call them, little black dress. Yes. I was performing on stage. I had to literally unzip the back of it because I couldn't expand my diaphragm. My whole rib cage was just contracted. And I was just thinking then, wow, there's so many women out there that wear bras that would be really causing pressure here. So I wanted you to touch on that, as well as just let's talk about what advice we can give people that are wanting to become better, male or female, at singing and preparing themselves to be, full-time musicians.
Cool. Well, I want to share a story that when I was a physio for some musical theater shows a long time ago, and their costume do cause problems, like corsets causing pain, and you can't breathe, like you said, exactly the same problem. You can't inhale properly, and the headpieces, depending on what show you're doing, and giving people neck pain, and it also changes your alignment. It probably helps you because you have to be like quite stacked to not have that thing fall over. So yet they have to be things you take into consideration. If you have no option that you must wear a costume, you want to talk to the head of props to see what they can do for you. You need to advocate for yourself. That's probably one of the things. Like, I have a lot of trouble advocating for myself. I'm learning to do all that stuff. I know it's hard to say no, but if you don't pipe up for yourself, no one would. So it's a radical act of self-love to put your hand up and say, I need help. This is not working for me. And I think from what I can see also in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of women have a very hard time. And sometimes that leads them to not speak up because they don't want to cause problems and stuff. And the hell with all that. Like everyone, no one has, how do I put it without swearing? So but you need to advocate for yourself. You're worthy, you matter. And don't let anyone come and squish your light out. So that's one thing.
Yeah, squish your diaphragm.
Yeah. Well, in that, just as you were
Yeah.
speaking that, I remember in my 20s, I was in a rock band, and you're always competing with the lead guitarist and the drummer. And I literally was ruining my voice because, and so I had to speak up, but it really didn't make too much difference. But you're right, because again, that belief around making yourself the most important person and speaking up is actually going to free your voice more for you to be a better singer.
Totally.
So that's important. Okay, so the next thing that
you cannot out-sing a set of drums. You cannot out-sing the guitar with the amplification. You make friends with the sound guy and get them to turn your mic up. So
but oh my God, the battles I go through with sound guys.
Yeah.
If they could just do their job properly, my life would be a lot easier.
Yes.
But competing with 9 other, like I'm in a 10-piece soul band, so it's a bit tricky. Got a trumpet in this ear and a blazing other singer in my other ear, and the drums right behind me. Great.
I think that there's technique that you can learn. There's something to speak to a singing teacher about how to learn what loudness you are using by feel instead of because sometimes you really just can't
100%. I literally that's exactly what I did the couple of weekends ago. I couldn't hear my voice at all. Wow. But because I'm so in tune with how it feels and where I need to place my voice when I'm singing, I could feel myself doing that. And then I looked at a video and I was like, oh, that's in key. We're on.
Yay.
Like awesome. I knew I was going by feel alone. It's like I turned my hearing inwards. And
nice.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
That is one of the things I would say. You got to keep working on your technique. You got to have a teacher to guide you, because when you have someone, you have a good relationship, it's a safe space. They know you well. They can probably hear you before you can. They can pick up issues before you can hear it or you register it yourself. So keep working on your technique is one thing. And I would just give you the rundown of how to become a vocal athlete. So firstly, like Julia said before, it starts with your belief. You got to believe that you are an athlete, because your belief is going to determine what thoughts you think. And the thoughts you think is going to determine how you feel about things. Your emotions and your feelings is going to influence the actions that you take. The actions that you take is going to determine your new reality. So if you want to change anything, you got to switch your beliefs. You are an athlete, you matter, you are a worthy singer. And so you deserve to have the support of a team. You deserve to have a strong, fit body. You deserve to spend the time with your exercising to strengthen your body, to get fit. You deserve to have the support of a speech pathologist if you need to. You deserve to eat well. You deserve to have the right rest. You got to sleep as much as you need to sleep and rest well. If you need a therapist, a lot of creative people are sensitive people. Therapy is amazing. I've had therapies a few times. And when it's becoming more prominent in the international sporting scene that a lot of elite athletes have a sports psychologist on their team. Iga Swiatek, the world #1 tennis women player, she has a sports psych with her all the time. And so you got to approach your career as if you were an athlete. So where is my list of stuff? I have a list that you got to have a team that you got to make sure you are honing your craft. You train your body so you're fit, you're strong, you can handle things. And you also want to make sure you have a buffer for the unexpected. People don't think about buffers. You got to rest, sleep, recover well. Your nutrition, your hydration,
Yeah.
your mental health, just for psychology, that kind of stuff. And for singers, you want to build a team around you. You want to have these people that you can call upon when you need it, and hopefully you don't. We all should have a doctor. And for singers, you want to have a singing teacher. You want to have a speech pathologist. You probably want to go see one at the beginning of your career and get some advice, get some tips on, because they can tell you how to monitor your voice on a daily basis, what to check. They can give you that kind of tools. And they are the people to go see when you have a concern about your voice. You want to have an ENT who specializes in the voice, or laryngologist. Other people to think about, physiotherapists to keep your body in, musculoskeletal things, and there are voice physios who actually treat the voice. Eat well, and
the
have
other
a dietitian if you need to.
Well, the other important thing is rehearse.
Yes.
Because
which is own your craft, I guess.
Well, it's preparing. It's preparation. It's like figure out how you want to sing that song and practice it that way. Doesn't mean when you get up on stage that you have to sing it exactly like that, but you've got the auditory recall built. It's in there. You know how you want to sing this song, and you can relax about it because you know the lyrics, you know the song, you know the timing. And I think that's a huge one, because I often went into a gig because we never rehearsed. We just didn't have enough time. And so our gigs were the rehearsal.
Goodness me. That would be so stressful.
It was. But for years I didn't use charts, but I trained myself to see a song. I would break it up into chunks, and the first verse I'd get a picture of what the verse was about in my mind. So I had this story running. Oh yeah, that's right. He goes down the road, then he does this, then he does that in the song. And so I would remember, and that in itself is excellent training for anyone that wants to sing. Practice your songs, really get into the heart of it. And then really I see having a voice teacher and then giving yourself the time and space. I mean, that's why we create, one of the reasons why we created the Sing to Thrive Healing Hub, because it's not just for, I mean, my biggest problem with my voice was my belief systems. Once I cleared those, my voice just opened up. And then I learned some good technique, and then I was off and running. So what we've done in the hub is we've got lots of healing vocal activation activities you can do to really bring up and heal those limiting beliefs. But then there's also the somatic, it's really simple stuff, the somatic training, and then we've got karaoke videos that are call and response that help people.
Nice.
It all got beautiful imagery. So then it's imprinting positivity and hope.
Oh, I love it.
I think anyone that wants to really use their voice needs to fully activate it. And it is not just about becoming a great singer. You need a good mindset. You need to have a resilient mindset. You need to be able to, when you're on stage, and if you get triggered, like, because sometimes I've done gigs where there's just been, it's been mayhem, and you've got people yelling at you going, Jimmy Barnes. And I look at them like, do I look like Jimmy Barnes? Do I look like I can scream like Jimmy Barnes? And so you just need to, I think the emotional and the mental is so important, as well as the physical. And then there's the spiritual, because singing is a spiritual experience. It's totally that. It activates the heart. And anyone that's yearning to sing, they're actually really yearning to find themselves, to find their voice, and to find themselves through their own unique signature sound, because we all have a unique sound. It's part of our DNA. It's part of who we are. And those of us that yearn for that, that's really an important part of our growth as humans, to find our voice, because it affects then your health, your wealth, your happiness, everything. It's tied into everything, whether we speak up at work, whether we can ask for what we want, whether we can go in and just joke around, or whether we're, like you said before, sometimes we can be really serious. And I think it's beautiful that when we first started this conversation, and you said when people come and visit you, they're often in pain because you're a physio, you're a voice physio, but you're also treat all physio.
Yeah.
And to be that quirky, funny, happy person that people can come and see, that's valuable, because when you're in pain, you don't need to go and see someone more serious than yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you need that. So
And
what do
just
you
to
think,
add on to
Maddie?
what you were saying as well, and I say this all the time to all my clients, it's like you can have the best technique in the world, but our voice is a mere reflection of our inside state.
Yes.
If you are focusing when you're singing on how bad you sound, or, oh, can I reach that note? Or, oh, this isn't sounding how, you know, Billie Eilish sounds. One of my teenagers just the other day, she's like, oh, but it doesn't sound like her. I'm like, you're not her.
You're not Billie.
You have to do it your way.
Yeah.
Like you have, that's what, yeah. And what I've always found so magical about singing and music is like getting inside a song and singing from that place. And that's with true healing. And when that you were talking about that yearning of finding yourself and that deeper part of your soul, if your voice is the expression of your soul, it's about tapping into that essence and allowing that to come through. And when you're focusing, like I say this all the time, when I focus on, if I'm singing a phrase and I focus on how beautiful it feels and sounds, the entire quality of my tone changes.
Yep,
it does.
And it's like, it's insane just how drastically it changes in comparison to this week. I haven't been 100%, as you can probably tell with my voice. And I'm just literally trying to get through a note, being like, okay, you've got this stamina, as opposed to focusing on, wow, this sounds beautiful. And even though it's like so many people are like, oh, it's typical Aussie tall poppy syndrome, like, oh, you're so up yourself. I remember people saying that to me in high school, being like, oh, you think you're so good. And I'm like, yeah, but by thinking I'm so good actually helps me to be better, because it changes my tone and I can access that place of beauty and the feeling attached to that, because then that's what you leave your audience with, because they can feel your voice as opposed to just hearing it.
But do you think it's that you think you're so good? I always look at it as if, no, I know I can do this, and I know I've got a nice voice, so but so many people have got nice voices. I mean, I see people,
that's right.
don't they? We have people come to Singing Circle every week, and sometimes I'm blown away by, wow, we sounded amazing today.
Yay.
But it's also that like trust in yourself. And I think that's probably, I mean, it's key. Everyone who comes to me, that's the biggest thing they want to build is confidence. And if you're not confident, then you're clearly not trusting yourself and your abilities. So it's building that trust as well. And just before we finish, just get a little bit sciencey, because I kind of want to know more about this, but I've seen you speak about how your pelvic floor is directly linked to your vocal folds and your jaw. Can you just explain like all of the musculoskeletal system that's involved in singing, in like, just for all of us non-sciencey people?
Let me try to put it in an efficient way. Before I do that, I want to add on the rehearsing. You want to rehearse in the costume that you are going to wear, with the props that you are going to use. You don't want to get on stage and this is the first time you're doing this thing this way, because that is a very bad idea. That's bad preparation. And the other thing to augment with what Maddie was saying, that I remember looking through my phone, looking for some old footage and stuff, and I was playing a video, I can hear my own voice and how different I sounded then.
Totally.
And now that I have more peace on the inside, I'm a calmer person, I've like done more healing myself, my voice literally has changed.
Yes.
That harsh edge is 100%. Not there anymore. Like, I'm not sounding great today because like I think I'm still really tight from this dental surgery. But like, so yeah, I totally relate to that it is a reflection of your inner state. And
absolutely.
So, absolutely. So pelvic floor.
And Selina, can I just, what you just said then is so valuable. And I just wanted to point out, That's such a good point, because so many, especially females, if they're rehearsing singing and then they get dressed, they put on the stilettos or the heels, whatever, and tight jeans, and they get out there and they're like,
everything.
oh my God,
No,
I can't breathe.
you can't sing.
I'm
Yeah.
in agony the way I'm standing. That's such good advice. Okay, go. Let's hear about
If you're going to wear stilettos on stage, you practice in stilettos. You got to make sure you are comfortable as you can be in stilettos. And also another way of thinking about it is like, be comfortable to not need the stilettos, to wear something else.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Don't conform. Like, why do you have to? Like,
Yep.
I have so much to say about how women should dress. Like, why do we have to wear skirts and heels when men get to be in the, same suit, different tie, and it's a different outfit, and they have comfy shoes? Like, that's just bullshit. Like, no, just be comfortable. Be comfortable. Yeah.
I hear you. All right, let's hear about this pelvic floor and the vocal folds.
Your pelvic floor is a part of your core. It works with your core. Is the main muscle of your core is called the transversus abdominis. It's a sheet of muscles that wraps around your midsection, literally like a corset. That's the main one. It also works with your pelvic floor, which is between your legs, literally the floor of the pelvis. They work together. Your diaphragm is then on the opposite end of the pelvic floor. They are coordinated. You inhale, the diaphragm comes down, your pelvic floor should relax. If you are clenching your pelvic floor all day because of whatever reason, you are not going to be able to let your diaphragm descend the way it's supposed to, and then you won't be able to breathe efficiently. And all that tension in your pelvic floor is unhealthy. You are not meant to keep clenching your pelvic floor. It's like, if I just I'm holding a fist right now for no good reason. If I keep holding a fist, like, for people who are watching on YouTube, you can see this. You can try along if you want to. If I hold a fist with a bit of tension in it, I'm not just like, it's not a loose fit, it's got a bit of tension. If I just hold it like that and just keep talking to you, eventually it's already starting to feel like, why are you doing this? This is stupid.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. And then after you let go, like, it's gonna feel weird for a while. It's not gonna be fluid. You're not gonna you won't have your agility for a while. So imagine doing that with your pelvic floor or your abs, for that matter. A lot of typically women, I think, they suck their guts in because they want a flat belly.
That was me.
Yeah.
And since I stopped doing that, my whole liver area doesn't hurt anymore.
Funny that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not functional. That your pelvic floor is meant to relax as you breathe in, and it will naturally lift as you breathe out. When you do an voluntary pelvic floor contraction, then you can like lift it even more, and that's part of your continence support. When you cough, sneeze, that's meant to happen. You can voluntarily contract your pelvic floor to make sure you don't leak. And so that's all part of your core, and your muscles have fascia connection. Fascia is a sheet of membranous connective tissues. The apologies to the non-meat eaters, but typically on a chicken breast, you will have a film of clingy tissues. That's fascia. It can be that thin, and it can also become really thick, like the chewy bits on meat.
Yep.
They are everywhere in the body, and you have fascia connection that goes from your pelvic floor all the way through hip flexors, your lung structures, through the larynx, into your jaw. So they're all really connected. My apologies. So if you next time think about clenching your jaws, you are probably also clenching your pelvic floor. If you catch yourself clenching your jaw, and then you let it go, and then you think about your pelvic floor, say, oh, I didn't even realize I'm clenching it. So it's all connected. So,
and does that cause shallow breathing? Is that one of the main reasons, like, not cause it, but like, is it kind of correlate?
If you don't let your pelvic floor relax and your diaphragm can't descend properly, and you still want to draw a breath in, you're probably likely to lift your chest. You do that apical more with the chest, and you may then go to your neck, because your neck muscles are accessory muscles for breathing. They can help you when you are desperate. They are not muscles to use on a regular day-to-day basis. They are expensive muscles in a way where most of the oxygen that you bring in with the help of the neck muscles goes to power the neck muscles, not to what you want to do. So if you are not letting your abs relax, if you're not letting your pelvic floor relax, and you still want to bring air in, your body will find a way. Life finds a way. You know, it will compensate somehow, and it's a very easy way to compensate by just heaving the chest up, and that could be a shallow breath because the top of the lungs is smaller. Lungs are pear-shaped. If you only use the top of your lungs to breathe, it's a smaller volume of air than if you just let it go naturally flow down to the base. The pear shape is a bigger surface area down there. So a nice relaxed breath that allows the breath to go down to the base of the lungs, has more volume in it than like a quick little shallow breath up the top. So yeah, possibly.
It's such an indicator when we've got tension if you can't get a big breath in. And I always love that feeling of just letting your belly go soft and just filling up with air and just, I love that. And that helped me understand actually the fascia and how everything's connected. Thank you.
It's also, I think a lot of singers I see online, there's a lot of confusion about which way the belly should move. There's people who they think they need to push their belly out to let that happen. That's not true either. You should not be pushing. You just have to let it happen. All you have to do is let go. You just let go of the tension a bit and let it happen. Allow it. It's more of an allowing thing instead of like making it. If you look at a baby, you know, when they're 3-4 months old, when they can sit themselves and they have this little border belly happening, and you can just see it just naturally. It just up and down, effortless. Be like that. Let it happen.
Totally. And I think that's where, like, I mean, I know a lot of my clients get confused with core and engaging the core. And I get so, like, young teenagers, fair enough. They're learning their body. But it's so interesting, even talking about what we did before. I got probably about 50% of my younger students who are in like grade 5 and 6, who are very into sport and really strong. They know what it feels like to engage their core when they're singing. The other half of my students, no idea what I'm talking about. We actually have to do exercises just to let them like feel it, because they don't know what it feels like. That's why most I love some of your tips around engaging the core. Can you just like touch on that briefly?
Yeah, sure.
Because so many people think you have to suck in, and it's not.
Yes. As a physiotherapist, I have retrained many cores. And in my career, I've been a physio for 24 years. I reckon there's only about 5 to 10 people who gave me a proper contraction in all that time. They were, I think, Pilates instructor and dancers, and maybe another physio. Most people would either go, they suck everything in. It's like, someone's going to come and play punch you in the gut. They brace and they suck everything in. Do the Chuck Norris, or they push out. They just like push the belly out, which is not how your core is supposed to work. Your core, the muscle, the fibers are horizontal, and when it's a loop, goes around your trunk. When muscles contract, so for the people watching on YouTube, you can see my fingers. I'm crisscrossing my fingers. When your muscle contracts, they overlap some more. So if you have a loop that overlaps some more, the loop is going to shrink. It's going to go from a bigger diameter loop to a smaller diameter loop. So that's what happens in your trunk, that it just go shrinking in. It's like cinching a corset ever so slightly. That's a core contraction, and it's the deepest layer of your abs. So there should not be a lot of visible pulling in. You should be able to, there may be some, you can't see it, gentle pulling in. And if you want to put your fingers on your hip bones in the front blob, and you go horizontal about 2 centimeters, that's a little dip. When you do your core contraction correctly, you should feel tension underneath your fingertips. That's the easiest place to feel for it. And if you want a full slow breakdown for it, I actually have a free mini training on how to use your core, especially for singing.
Yeah.
So we
Actually,
can drop the
share
link.
that.
Yeah,
Share that
yeah.
now with people, what courses you've got on your website.
I've got a free mini course called Introduction to Breath Support, where I talk you through exactly how to use your core, the TA muscle, the transversus corset muscle, how to use your pelvic floor, how to put it together with your voice. So that's what I call integration. You got to make sure that your core and your voice work together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that is because our instrument is our body, strengthening your body is great. We also want to spend some time training the body and the voice to coordinate, to collaborate together so that your whole body work harmoniously and sing literally as one.
Yep.
So that's the free mini course. It's on my website. If you go to movemedics.com.au, it's movemedics.com.au. There's a yellow button right on the top left. You can go through there. And if you go through the tab that says courses, it will take you there too.
Yep. That's fantastic. And I noticed you had, there's a couple of things on there, and people can watch that and listen to that to get clearer on just certain things that they need help with and support with. So
totally. I actually did that free course for
cool.
core support. Yeah, it was very valuable. It helped me see things in a different way, even though I was already knew what I was doing. It gave me a different vocabulary and a different visual,
different perspective.
Yeah. And even what you just did then is another one. I've never heard that before. The fingers over looping that.
Like muscle fibers at the resting state, they're linked. They have cross links. When you contract and then you relax and you stretch them, they got it. Yeah, nerdy stuff.
So the most important thing for anyone that wants to become a better singer is really getting fit, strengthening the core, getting their muscles stronger, getting good technique, learning to breathe correctly, and that really relaxing and allowing the breath into the body, and then knowing how to engage and then deliver that without tension on the out breath. And just again, of course, how posture is so important with singing, and we do some somatic tips and techniques that we've got there. But why don't we just put something together anyway between the three of us? We'll do something again where we're actually doing a little workshop for people to help them to feel more confident with their voice, so they know what they're doing with their body, because like you said, the body is the instrument.
Yeah.
And everyone's got access to their voice 24/7, and it's their biggest ally. Our voice is one of the most potent healing tools we have access to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's good to know how to use your voice and how to get stronger at that. And I just had I do these free 15-minute breakthrough coaching calls, and one of the women today said, I just want to get stronger with my singing. And I think, she'd be the perfect person for this. So anyone that wants to know more about that, we'll put Selina's information in the
show notes.
In the show notes. Thank you, Maddie. And any other information that we've got there about the Healing Hub and what we offer at Sing to Thrive. And is there anything else that you'd like to share before we finish up, Selina?
I would probably just add to what you said before about posture, that is the access to the ideal. And also, I encourage singers to be strong where they need to sing. If your character is hunched over, you want to be able to still tap into your core, tap into your technique where your character is. Like I play piano, so I mostly would be sitting and playing. If you have a guitar, you want to make sure that you are strong and functional where you need to be.
Totally.
There was actually just recently a comment in one of the Facebook group that I'm in. Someone was talking about asking for examples of singers with good posture. And it was a very interesting conversation to see what other people say about it. And I was very happy to see a lot of singers, the singing teachers also said that it's not like the one posture is not like a bad posture. There's no bad posture. That's my take. There is no such thing as bad posture. There's only positions that you have capacity for or not. And it is not about being in the one shape. There's no one posture to rule it all. There's no one ring to rule it all situation, because everyone is different. There can't be one thing that fits every single human being. And it's the options. Like I want to be able to easily be nice and stacked in the ideal alignment if I want to, but if I want to be grooving, you know, I want to still be able to do it. I remember I went to see, I can't remember the show, but I went to see Katie Noonan, and she's an amazing
She is
singer.
amazing. I've seen her rap as well.
The first thing that struck me was I thought she was a more slouchy than I thought she would be. Yeah. But then she sang, she sang beautifully. And then there was a high note. And then I watched in real time, slow motion almost, that she just lined herself up. And that beautiful note just ping out effortlessly. Yeah. And she was back to her like groovy. So she had the access she needed when I needed, she tapped into it. Otherwise, she was just being her. And not everyone has that personality to be like, you know, bold upright, you know, hi, my name is Selina, I'm gonna sing your song now.
It's not about being rigid in your posture, it's about having fluidity as well, which is really important.
Right.
Which is part of the thematic techniques as well. It's about having that
choreography.
Movement. Engaging the core, always knees bent, just fluid movement. And beautiful.
Katie Noonan's amazing.
I know, I love her voice. Madeline sang Katie Noonan's song for your
one of her songs for HSC.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it was excellent.
Did it a cappella too, actually, which was interesting to see.
And she also did the prayer with her father and her brother in Italian and English for her HSC. Oh, it was so impressive. Wow. It was really good.
Good stuff.
I want to watch that. Yeah, I know. We actually did film it because my nonna wanted to watch it, and she just called me the other day saying she watched it again. She just puts the CD into her TV.
That's lovely.
Yeah, so cute. It's very cute. Amazing. Well, thanks so much for your time today, Selina. It is just
thank you so much for having me.
All this physio sciencey background into singing. It's just it is so helpful and amazing to have another perspective.
Yay.
And
it's been a pleasure.
It's a great message for people to work on their fitness and their health, because it's such an important part of being a good singer, being a great singer.
And it just happens to be good for your health and your life.
And quality of life.
And it's more fun.
Funny that.
It's more fun.
Funny that, right?
Because our voice is a reflection of our inside state. So if our inside state's strong and healthy and vital, then our voice will be too.
Yay.
Beautiful.
Amazing. I love it. Well, thanks so much for your time, and I'm sure we'll speak again very soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Ciao. Do a little love heart.